Hello everyone, welcome to this new Analyst Angle. With Kaseya, we have Ranjan Singh, who is the Chief Product Officer at Kaseya. Ranjan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Christophe. Great to see you again.
Well, Ranjan, I'm very pleased to have you. I think people may not know enough about Kaseya, so could you tell us more about the company and about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kaseya is a company that's focused on IT and security software for small and medium businesses. And we serve that market in two ways. We go via a primary market, which is the managed service providers, which are small businesses unto themselves that provide IT and security services to other small businesses. And then we also go into the mid-market, whereby companies that have less than 10, perhaps internal IT employees that have need for inexpensive tools. The common thread across both the customer segments, Christoph, is we call them the multifunctional IT professionals. And the big distinguishing factor is that these are folks that have to do almost everything. They are not, unlike the large enterprises that have dedicated teams to do security, networking, patch management, etc. Multifunctional IT professionals, the ones that are providing all, essentially doing just about everything, switching between the various tools. So that's the market we focus on. We don't sell to consumer, we don't sell to enterprise. My role within Kaseya is to drive our product strategy. We have a large portfolio, almost 40 plus products serving this market and enabling our customers to deliver services and product development. So I lead basically we have general managers for all these business units, and I lead the company across all of those business units.
And it's a pretty important job, obviously, with lots of products and product lines and integrations that happen with an ecosystem. We'll talk about that, as well as acquisitions that you guys have conducted through the years. But I think what's important here is what you just brought up, and I want to talk about that a little more in terms of some of your offerings, which is the fact that you are dealing with individuals who are not PhDs in security or in backup or in compliance. They're essentially IT generalists, and they have to, from one minute to the next, jump from fixing a laptop to potentially looking at some network issue. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, having service providers in the mix is another interesting point we'll talk about, because you're dealing with businesses. They're not just IT professionals, as you would
Right.
have with end users. There are actually business people as well, and that's important. It's even more important as I want us to talk about Kaseya 365, which was introduced last year in April, and is a very innovative view and way of approaching the market and combining the various technologies that you bring to the table. So could you bring us up to speed on where you're at a year into the launch, and what can we expect with 365?
Yeah, absolutely, Christoph. If you don't mind, I'll just preface the commentary on Kaseya 365 with just the problem that we solve in the marketplace, right? So we talked about multifunctional IT professionals, and they are faced, whether it's the internal IT teams or the MSP segment, they're faced with three key challenges. Number one is vendor fatigue, because they have to provide so many services, they end up using on average 15 plus vendors. The second challenge is, as they are using tools from multiple vendors, those tools aren't necessarily integrated, so their workflows aren't optimized. And lastly, there is never enough budget for IT and security in any company. So we are focused on solving these three challenges, these core challenges, and we lead with our platform called IT Complete. You mentioned earlier, Kaseya has grown through acquisitions as well as organic development. So we ended up building this platform and to solve these three core problems. And what we did with Kaseya 365 is really bring that platform to life as a product, as a service. And so Kaseya 365, which, as you mentioned, we launched it late April in 2024, so approaching almost 9 months, we focused on in the April launch, we focused on something called Endpoint. And so Kaseya 365 Endpoint was all about enabling our customers to manage, secure, and back up an endpoint. And it's everything they would ever need, from an RMM tool for management to all the entire security stack for an endpoint, and finally the backup. Later on in October of last year, we launched Kaseya 365 User, same concept. Instead of focusing on the endpoint, you obviously need to protect and manage and back up the user as well. I'm pleased to say that it's been very, very successful in the marketplace. We obviously led with a deeply integrated offering in both endpoint and user, and at a price point that basically made our customers be able to adopt the entire stack. Previously, customers were making a choice. Hey, should I do MDR? Should I do SOC management because I have to sell it? They no longer have to do that with our price point for Kaseya 365 endpoint. And we've seen this success throughout our customer base. So it's been very, very successful. But the thing that I'm most pleased about is customers are seeing value. Customers are able to mitigate the risks that they were previously taking by having to decide, which customer gets what type of service. And then most importantly, they are benefiting not only from increased profitability due to the price point, but also the operational efficiency due to the integrations that we built across the stack. So very, very successful outcome. And of course, there's plenty of runway still to go.
Right, and I think what's important here is the fact that it's one platform. There is essentially really no option in a sense. And I like the fact that it really allows the either the MSP or the end user, depending on what type of organization you're talking about, to not have to make those function or feature choices, which really could be very, very negative from the perspective of ignoring a part of the infrastructure. So in the context of security, in the context of the ransomware issues we're seeing, the cybersecurity problems we're seeing, and just the need to be compliant, you really can't afford not to do something. And I think what's interesting about your approach is that that's exactly the problem you're solving. We'll talk about the economics for MSPs in a minute. I'd like to double-click on compliance a little bit. It's a hot topic. Everybody's exposed to it. It's not just the enterprises. So a lot of your traditional customers in the mid-market also have to be compliant. There's just no way around it. So
Absolutely.
Can you tell us more about what you've included in the suite at this point, and sort of where you're going in general terms?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great question, Christophe. So the first part is risk management, right? So you have to mitigate your risk as much as possible. So we have helped our customers achieve that through endpoint and user. In particular, in endpoint, it's proven with the MDR. That was used to be previously a choice, doesn't have to be a choice anymore. Same with cloud detection and response in the user component. We are offering that included in the user offering, so customers are mitigating the risk. The next step is compliance. Compliance, by its very definition, is it's a smorgasbord of acronyms, it's standards, it's controls, it's complex. And as you can imagine, these are small businesses or internal IT teams, small budgets don't necessarily have the wherewithal, the experience, the subject matter experts to be able to do this well. So our approach, and we already have as part of our platform a tool called Compliance Manager. And for our customers in North America that are familiar with TurboTax, I like to describe it as the TurboTax of compliance. It's a guided process. It makes it very, very easy for our customers to basically put in a process to be compliant with a particular standard, HIPAA, NIST, whatever CMMC as the case may be. But the real benefit of using Compliance Manager as part of the IT Complete platform comes from adopting the other pieces of the platform. So if you happen to have Kaseya 365 endpoint, you happen to have user, what we are able to do is basically automate the process of gathering evidence and applying them to controls for a particular standard. This is fully automated, and we call it evidence of compliance. We call this integration evidence of compliance. It pulls in all the relevant data, all the statistics from all the different components of endpoint and user, and automatically applies it to controls and produces a report for the customer saying, this is where you're compliant, this is where you're not compliant. That's step one. Now, what you really want is, you don't want compliance at a point in time. You want continuous compliance. So where we are headed is, we're thinking in terms of, what is continuous monitoring? Am I always compliant? And then the next level, given that these folks, the thing they don't have is time or expertise, is I'm monitoring compliance for you, as well as I'm ensuring that I'm able to remediate situations that go out of compliance. And we have a strong history of being able to do that in the world of security, auto remediate actions with our MDR, with our EDR, and we're bringing the same methodology of monitoring and remediation in the world of compliance. So that's what you can expect as part of the IT Complete platform in 2025.
Right.
It's about democratizing compliance is probably the simplest way I can think of it.
Right. I like the term democratizing, because literally it is a pretty specific set of topics, and automating and simplifying these type of efforts is absolutely key, especially for mid-sized organizations. Again, we're dealing with IT journalists here. We're not dealing with compliance specialists necessarily, but you cannot ignore the law, right? You have to be compliant. So what I like here is what we're seeing, candidly, is really sort of a convergence, right? Because IT, security, cyber resilience, backup recovery, and really compliance, they're kind of all intertwined. So what I'm seeing is that sort of commonality of approach and the workflows, and the reality is that there's no compliance without security, and vice versa. Let's talk about what this means from an integration standpoint. You alluded that a lot of organizations have at least 15 to 20 vendors they're managing. That's probably on the low end, if you want my opinion. I don't have recent research, but I think it's definitely a good number to start with. Now, if you think about all of the functions and sub-functions you have actually delivered many integrations through APIs. You have actually, I think that's one of the big differentiators for Kaseya from a technology and platform standpoint. So can you walk us through your strategy? And please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's in the 600 integrations just last year between your solutions and generally the ecosystem.
Yeah, Christophe, that is a core part of our strategy. Earlier, I highlighted one of the key challenges is lack of workflow automation. When you're using tools from multiple vendors, the workflow of the multifunctional IT professional isn't optimized. So, and why isn't it optimized? Vendors can have integrations across, the leverage APIs. Everybody has APIs, they're open platforms. So yeah, you can build these automations. But what happens? Every vendor, every company has priorities. And so what I like to describe it, we like to describe it as superficial integrations, because if you want deep, meaningful integrations, and more importantly, workflow automation, we're just not looking to you have 10 steps in your workflow and we just want to automate the 10 steps. No, we want to optimize those 10 steps down to 3. And that's what we are able to do because we own the vast majority of the technology stack, right? And so we are able to build deeper integrations, deeper automations. I gave you an example earlier of evidence of compliance. Another common example, one of our most used automations, if you like, is billing automation. Customers are using our PSA tool, whether it's Autotask or BMS, and that's deeply integrated with every other component of IT Complete. So the billing units, the billing information can all be incorporated there. Now you can imagine, as you mentioned, if a customer has already adopted Kaseya 365 endpoint and user, we have a lot of information about endpoint and users, and you are talking about cyber resilience. What is the big advantage that we feel we have is we have now sources of data. We have an MDR solution. We can gather a lot more deeper intelligence about the activities that are taking place on endpoint and user and help us protect our customers even better, right? Help them better manage risk, improve their cyber risk posture. And the next step from there is take all of these events, take all of these actions, and the common term, Christophe, in the industry is SIM, SOAR, be able to orchestrate the automated remediations. And then, if you have some kind of if some customer unfortunately has a successful phishing event, a good example is we can take that and we can turn that around into a phishing simulation, into a training. So we are able to leverage a lot of our data in a platform, and that is what we're headed. So we already did 600 integrations, as you mentioned. That is our bread and butter. We allocate 30% of our resources focusing on automation, focusing on delivering operational efficiency and delivering the automation that customers expect from us.
Right, and I think, obviously there's quite a bit of ML and AI involved in this, so I know it's a topic that you'll be discussing in the next few months, at the big event you're going to have, which is Connect Global. I sometimes get it wrong. I said it the other way. It's Connect Global 2025, so that's going to be in the April timeframe. Definitely an interesting event to attend if you're an MSP or if you're an end user. Lots of great training sessions, lots of content. We've covered a lot of ground. I'd just like to maybe ask you for some closing thoughts in two areas. One of them is, where are you with helping your MSP partners with their profitability? That was a big topic. I know your CEO is very focused on it as a company. That's why you introduced 365 endpoint and user and beyond moving forward. And are there any hints for us in terms of the roadmap? What can we expect?
Well, no hints, no announcements here. That's why our customers have to come to Connect. Invariably, we are always innovating. We had over 1,000 new capabilities in our platform last year, over 600 new automations, two new organic module developments, if you like. We introduced a category called Cloud Detection and Response with SaaS alerts. So invariably, our customer base should expect that there will be some big announcements and launches that will happen in April. Here's what I'd like to offer. We are heavily focused on AI. Right? And our approach to AI is a little bit different than perhaps others in this industry. We believe that our focus is on delivering outcomes. And the outcomes that we seek on behalf of our customers is profitability or driving their budget that much further for internal IT teams, right? MSPs historically on average have 10% profitability. We want to drive them to 20, 30, 40%. We can do that with economics, but we also believe we can do that with operational efficiency because labor is the most expensive component. So our mission is, if you think about what multifunctional IT professionals are doing on a day-to-day basis, there is a lot of repetitive tasks. There's lots and lots of tickets that should not require human intervention. And so in 2025, we are laser focused on just expanding upon the automations, the AI-based automations that we've already delivered. You've seen some examples already, Christophe. We launched IT Glue Copilot in April of last year. We launched Copilot for Autotask, our service desk platform, where we gave customers specific applications to summarize tickets, to generate resolution notes. And the next, versions of it is auto routing, right? Or leveraging an auto resolution options, like these are potential solutions. So that's one dimension. Curating documentation and generating standard operating procedures, whereby we can just record an action and generate a standard operating procedure. Another dimension that I'm really excited about is we've so far focused on service desk and documentation. We want to bring AI-based automation in the world of RMM. There are so many actions that are user interface driven that just don't have to be. RMMs are built with automation engine as core component, right? And so we can leverage those thousands and thousands of automation scripts that our customers have delivered. We can use AI to interpret their actions and take those actions. So this is what you can expect at Connect. We'll be having a bunch of announcements around AI and automation in particular. But the thing that I'm most excited about is ultimately it's about delivering profitability or driving budget further. And we are on a singular motion. We believe we can automate at least 60% of the service desk function, right? Whether it's incoming tickets, whether it's billing, whether it's uncovering sales and marketing opportunities, we can automate 60% of the function that multifunctional IT professionals do today. And that is the mission we are on, leveraging AI to do that.
Well, Ranjan, thank you so much for covering so much ground. I look forward to the April timeframe to hear more about the new capabilities and how you will leverage AI even further and expand on the platform. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Christophe, and thank you to the audience as well. Real pleasure to see you, and hope to see you again soon in person in April.
Perfect. Look forward to it as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. My name is Christophe Bertrand. I'm a principal analyst here at theCUBE Research, and I will see you on the next one.